Hey fellow Vault Dwellers, it's Angry Turtle, and the latest PTS update was implemented, and yes, you asked me so much to discuss the Conductor's change. It is happening here, so we'll discuss it. So let's go, that's not a long patch notes, let's go point by point. So first, adjusted challenge rewards for catching some local legends, so that was previously 3k cabs, which was very low, as that's the hardest to catch from the fish. I don't know what's the new reward. We'll need to wait until the game will go online again. It's under maintenance. Again, some adjustment to super bait. So Sogils, which are common, you will not catch them when using super bait, which is good for super bait. Fishing while under the influence of Nuka Shine will no longer turn your fishing rod into a weapon once you wake up back from your inspired desire to travel. That's hilarious bug. Fix a mod display issue with the attractive hook fishing rod mod. Fix an issue where fish were removed from the inventory if the player logged off during the casting of quest. PTS only camp issue fix that's not on the live game version, never was, so that's why it says PTS only. Perks updated the loading screen tips for perks, added a help entry for kill streak. Legendary mods, so that's the big change. Conductors. Yes, I did switch most of my weapons to include conductors, so I'm not particularly happy. But let's try to be objective here. First I read, then I will say what I think. Now restores 100 hit points and action points over 5 seconds for the player and nearby teammates. 20 HP AP per second. Refreshes the duration on subsequent applications. Dev note. The original effect was granting more health and action points than intended, even after our fix. After evaluating multiple playstyles, we found there was too much variance in build performance, with some weapons benefiting vastly more than others. While trying to bring up the performance on the low end and maintain a strong but reasonable top end, we landed on a flat value instead of a percentage with a duration, so more playstyles can benefit from this effect. So what I think? I'm not particularly happy. The reason is I apply conductors on all my weapons that benefited greatly from it, which is high fire rate automatic weapons. Now high fire rate will have no effect. So that's really bad for those weapons. For all those weapons, it's straight up nerf. Objectively, was it strong? It was. It was very strong. Was it really broken? I don't know. You can achieve infinite watts with coffee. Like if you have cans of coffee, you can spam them and achieve infinite watts. It does cost something, but you can achieve this effect too. Now with this change, what that will mean. So it's for some people and some playstyles, it is a buff. If you are using a weapon that costs a lot in watts to fire, but is firing slowly, that is a buff on conductors. You can now use it on conductors. So the last part is true that more playstyles will benefit from it. That's true. The beginning of that I don't think is true, because they say the original effect was granting more health and action points than intended, even after our fix, which is not true, as the original effect was listing 5%, but granting only 1% or even less for action points especially. I mean, it was kind of working for health, but for action points that was under 1%. It was barely giving any action points. So they implemented a fix that made it work and give 5% as advertised. So the fix was not to reduce the effect. The fix was to align the effect with description, which was a big buff to conductors. So that's not true. At least I don't see how this sentence can be true. The last one is true. Now, how strong is this effect? So 20 action points per second, that equivalent of about almost 2 cans of coffee, which is decent. That's a decent effect. I'm not saying this effect is now gone, worthless. It is decent. In what situation it is more beneficent than it was previously and when you are using automatic weapons? That for characters with relatively low total action point pool. So if your total AP, low total OP, like all AP you had was, let's say, 200, Conductors was giving you every other shot, assuming you have criticals every other shot, and is giving you in the live game version, Conductors is giving you 5% every other shot, which is 10 action points every other shot. So to achieve the new value of 20, that's 4 shots. Most fast firing weapons can do more than 4 shots per second. So even in this case scenario, it's still a nerf, although not so big of a nerf. As most weapons will do about 8 shots, so you will have about half of the effect with this change, although it is timed effect, so when you are fighting multiple mobs and you need to keep switching, you are not consistently in VATS, this effect will be slightly better, as you will consistently be getting AP for 5 seconds, even when you are not actively hitting anything. So when there is a lot of enemies spread out that you need to keep switching, that would be a little bit of a buff if your AP pool is low. If you are running with high AP, so 500 or 400 total, of some people with even more, that's a huge nerf in that case scenario. For weapons that are semi-automatics, firing slowly, this is a buff. Like if your weapon can fire only twice a second, so with old Conductors, you were able to trigger it only once per second as every other shot. Therefore, you were able to get, let's say, with your 400 action points, you were able to get 20. And after the change, you will still get 20. So then you are good. And every slower firing weapon, that's a buff. Therefore, yeah, in some case scenario, it is a buff. But for most people that apply that on fast firing weapons, it is a significant nerf. Should you give up on Conductors and use something else? I would say yes. If it's very AP hungry weapon and your intention was to keep infinite VATs, probably yes. With some weapons that are very cheap in VATs, if you combine Conductors with Rejuvenators on Power Armor, Rejuvenators is similar amount. So with Rejuvenators, you can push this number to 45 per second, which is enough for some very cheap weapons that have like 4 action points per shot. But that's about it. Therefore, I would say Conductors no longer as top of effect as is. And the healing amount, you can just use single diluted Stimpack will do more. So healing amount and action point amount, it is combined. It is still good, but not very good. So after this change, it's no longer very good. I do not personally like it. I do understand the reasoning behind it. I still don't like it. That was the whole point for me, to achieve infinite VATs. And now it's no more infinite VATs. You cannot achieve that anymore with these Conductors unless your weapon fires once per second and cost less than 20 AP per shot. Then yes, then you can with this new effect easily. But that's not what everyone wanted to use this effect for. And it seems to be that from this patch forward. It will be great effect for the dragon. What dragon would benefit with that greatly? You can stay in VATS infinitely, but who's gonna use it with a dragon? There are better effects for the dragon, so I'm not happy. I don't like it. Understand the change. I still don't like it. I prefer how it was per shot, and I don't think it's a good idea to completely keep changing legendary effects as soon as I switch and adapt my gear to what is the best. The next patch is changing it. It's different with builds, it's different with perks that we basically swap and it doesn't cost anything. But it's different when you modify legendary mods, basically nerfing them. That's not good. I hope it's the end of that. And no more 4-star legendaries that are so hard to come by is gonna get changed because they're too strong. Like, the time for that is before you release it, to figure out what is too strong. And that's all I have to say in here. I'm sorry for a little bit extended rant. And no, I'm not quitting because of that. I'm just not happy because of that. And that being said, thank you all for watching, and see you all in the next one.